Hello, everyone. Let's discuss this question from October-November 2024, variant 1-1. This is question number 9B. This is an 8-mark question, and today we're going to look at an 8-mark question comparing two core studies. The first one that was conducted by Dement and Kleitman, and this research was on sleep and dreams. And the second one, the study conducted by Holzel et al. This study was about mindfulness and brain scans. We'll focus on two differences between these two studies and how to structure a high-scoring answer. Before we proceed, let me read out the question for you so that you have an idea about what we're stepping into. Now, if I read this question, the question over here reads, explain two differences between the study by Dement and Kleitman and the study by Holzel et al., that is mindfulness and brain scans. One of the differences must be about the technique used to investigate the brain. The technique used is a must. So I'll just put this in a box here. Now, if we have a look at the marking criteria, use the marking grid below. 4 marks for the difference, twice, example, brain measurement, research techniques used, type of data collected, that is quantitative or qualitative, generalizability, and sample size. Now, before we get into the differences, let's first talk about how these 8-mark questions are graded. Now, if we speak about the grading mechanism over here, these 8-mark questions, they are graded using levels. And the highest level you can achieve is level 4. To reach level 4, your answer needs to show a clear and well-developed difference. Let me repeat, your answer needs to show a clear and well-developed difference using both the studies as examples. And know that simply stating a difference is not enough. You must explain it fully and link it back to the studies. See, the question over here, the command word over here was explain. So if they're asking us to explain, we might as well explain. We cannot just simply state the two differences and expect to hit an 8 on 8 in this particular question. So we'd get back to this part. But before that, I'd want you all to have a look at these two differences that I've put in front of you. Now, to begin with, let's start with the technique that was used to investigate the brain. Focus on the first paragraph here. The technique that was used to investigate the brain. Holzel et al. Used MRI scans, which allow researchers to look at the structure of the brain and detect long-term changes. In their study, they examined gray matter density after participants completed an 8-week mindfulness stress reduction course. Whereas, on the other hand, Dement and Kleitman used a completely different technique that was referred to as EEG, or they used EEG recordings, which measure brain activity which record brain wave activity in real time. EEG was used to track changes in sleep stages and dream activity, meaning this study focused on brain function at the moment it happened, rather than long-term structural changes. Now, I am talking about this first paragraph over here. Let me read this out real quick for you. One difference between the studies is the technique used to investigate the brain. Holzel et al. Used MRI scans, which allow researchers to see structural changes in brain density after an 8-week mindfulness stress reduction course. In contrast, Dement and Kleitman used EEG recordings, which measure real-time brainwave activity during different sleep stages. This means Holzel study, this part, this means Holzel study focused on long-term structural changes in the brain, while Dement and Kleitman study examined brain function in the moment. So the key takeaway here is that Holzel's method focused on brain structure, while Dement and Kleitman's method focused on brain function. This is exactly the level of explanation that is required for you to be able to hit level 4. Now, having a look at the second difference. The second difference is in the type of data that was collected. Dement and Kleitman collected both quantitative and qualitative data. For example, the EEG readings provided numerical brain activity data that was quantitative, while participants also described their dreams that was qualitative, which allowed researchers to compare brain activity with reported dream content. In contrast, on the other hand, Holzel et al. Only collected quantitative data. They used MRI measurements to track brain density changes. This means their study was entirely objective and was based on numerical values. Unlike Dement and Kleitman's, which included subjective dream reports. Again, notice how this difference is fully explained, linking it back to studies. That's what makes it level 4. Now, quickly reading through the second paragraph that we have over here. Another difference is in the type of data collected. Dement and Kleitman gathered quantitative and qualitative data. For example, they recorded EEG readings, quantitative, and participants' dream reports, that is qualitative. On the other hand, Holzel et al. Study focused entirely on quantitative data using MRI measurements to assess changes in gray matter density. This means Dement and Kleitman's study provided a mix of subjective and objective findings, whereas Holzel et al. Study relied purely on numerical brain scan data for analysis. Now, another difference is in the type of data collected. The first difference was in terms of the technique that was used, which again was a prerequisite that was mentioned in the question. Now, you might as well pause this here, write this down, see how long it takes you to write this. Remember, the clearer your answer is, the better chances you have of scoring full marks. The more you practice, the better chances you have of scoring full marks. And remember when I said this is exactly the level of explanation that is needed for you to be able to hit a 4 on 4 for one difference that together makes it 8 on 8 marks. Quickly getting back to what the examiner has provided us. For example, Holzel et al. Used an MRI scan to be able to see brain density changes after mindfulness stress reduction course. Dement and Kleitman used a different technique called an EEG that could only monitor brainwave activity patterns. Therefore, Holzel's method looked at structure, whereas Dement's looked at real-time function, real-time, that is function. Now, I hope this was helpful, and I hope you'd practice more of 8-mark questions to ensure that you hit an 8 on 8 in your examination. Thank you.